stopping reproduction for all the sentient beings on Earth probably isn't going to happen in some sort of little benign way. If you think animals are going to have some crisis because in a millisecond their life is going to end, well, you can make that argument that that's the worst fate possible for these little creatures. But no, that's the best fate possible. Of all the possibilities, they couldn't win any bigger than to be instantly killed by a nuclear explosion. That's about as big a win as you could possibly have. Yes, those creatures will have to be in some efficient manner euthanized. They're just going to be unplugged, and the only practical way to do it, and with every consideration for doing it as efficiently as possible. It's going to require something be sacrificed. Most good things that happen in the world happen because you got to chew up some people to do it. How many people died for all the good medical techniques that they have now? How many people were sacrificed to the cause? Nothing comes for free, asshole. We could do it tomorrow, okay? It's theoretically possible. Nuclear bombs don't have any limit to how big a one you can make and how big a mess you can make. So if we started tomorrow saying, let's make the doomsday, let's make the earth splitter, we could get it done in 20 years. The red button is just the euthanizing button. It's just putting the thing out of its misery. We know the button can be made highly efficient. That is, nobody sees the bullet, nobody hears the bullet, and they're just gone. Like that. Impossible to come up with some definition of harm unless you think, well, I should have been told. Why would telling you help? I had a bunch of things I wanted to get done. Clearly, there's nothing to fix once all the things that are broken are destroyed. There's nothing you need to do. Everything was already done. Clearly, there's no practical way to, through democratic process and speaking our opinions, to persuade animals to use condoms. There's only one practical solution. That is, one generation takes the hit.
One can reason that if it's justifiable to kill everyone by pressing the red button, then it should be justifiable to kill everyone on an isolated island. This goes against our intuitions, so either there is a relevant difference or it's not really justifiable to press the button, or our intuitions are wrong.
It's your intuitions, it's not our intuitions. All you're saying is that we have this aversion in terms of if anything costs something, we run away because that's unpleasant.
On an isolated island, we know they may suffer in the future, we know they may procreate, but it doesn't seem to make sense to punish them for the crime they haven't yet committed.
Okay, so again, it's not punishing them for any crime. So again, it's just if somebody has an infectious disease, you quarantine them, right? But if the disease is bad enough, then you start saying, well, yeah, you got to take more drastic measures.
It doesn't seem to make sense to prevent their future suffering by killing them.
Well, it makes perfect sense to rational people. So sacrifice now will be worth it in the future.
If it doesn't work for an isolated case, then why should it work for everyone en masse?
So again, he doesn't say it works for an isolated case. Of course it does.
There is nothing in the aphorism itself that would allow us to derive the claim that killing everyone on the isolated island is unjustifiable.
It is reasonable. It is justifiable. There's nothing to say it's unjustifiable. That's true.
Another counter-argument to the red button solution is to say that the innocent cannot be sacrificed for the crimes of the guilty, and the innocent cannot be sacrificed for the greater good, whatever that would be.
Well, of course they can. It's perfectly rational. If you can kill one person to stop a million people from going through some horrible fate, it's perfectly rational. There's nothing irrational about it at all. It's perfectly rational economics. Your little argument, I want my rights, doesn't mean anything.
One could tally up the goods and the bads in a single individual's life, but such calculation across individuals is not so intuitive. The atheists would have
to you. It's perfectly intuitive to me.
Another way to present an argument against the mass extermination is to compare it with the Omelas story. In the story, the ones who walk away from Omelas, all the people live a utopian life. But this has a cost. In the basement of one of the buildings, There is a child living in abject misery and terror. Everyone knows that the
Right. So I wouldn't live there. So if that's the cost of my existence, torturing something, I don't want it. I don't want to be doing that to anything to do this stupid shit. If I was doing something great, fine, but no, to just live and wank, forget it. I'm not torturing something for that. If you were saying, oh, we're going to torture one person to save a bunch of people, not to go to Disneyland, but to save people from being tortured, well then, yeah, the little cost to the present individual be accepted. The cost to one generation to prevent harms from billions of generations, yes, that's acceptable. You can't understand the difference between sacrifices that have to be made to save people from harm and sacrifices of being made to merely gratify superficial and trivial desires. Yeah, as soon as I got 51% of the votes, well, yeah, the other 50% are going to be out of luck.